That face-off that you had, I mean, were you able to size him up? I mean, what was that face-off like, and what's it like bulking up a little bit?
Well, I'm at my natural weight.
Canelo carries more natural weight and density at 168. Crawford would have added artificial weight.
Well, I'm at my natural weight.
So in my last video, I had asked you guys what this quote artificial weight unquote is, and nobody provided an answer. Don't worry though, Boxing Gems has no clue either. So if I call a brother a liar, multiple people will pull the race card in the comments section. But Boxing Gems could call both Bomac and Bud liars, and he gets applauded for it. Funny thing, this code, but no one should be surprised because all that code really is code for lie. So multiple people have asked me why I haven't made any videos exposing Canelo's flaws. Well, little do you know, I have. I've made tons of videos exposing Canelo's flaws. And it's Terence Crawford's technique that has never been prominently featured in any of my videos. But when I was exposing Canelo's poor technique and picking Bevo to take advantage of that and whoop the man, the culture was either disinterested or called me a hater. After all, at that time, Canelo was the red-headed stepchild of the culture, lukewarmly accepted. I mean, shit, some people even called him slick. But yeah, Canelo got a pass for many years because he lost to Floyd and he had gotten rid of the Black Executioner. The guy that had tormented the culture for years, making all of their favorite fighters hide out at 154 pounds. The Charlos, Andre, Lara, all of them just as big or bigger than Golovkin. I remember those shameful days when Golovkin was supposed to move up to 175 to fight that nut-cracking African. GGG was some kind of a weight bully after Floyd Mayweather said he was gonna whoop his ass and he said, fine, I'll come down to 154. Yo, Gems, if Golovkin can make the same weight as Floyd Mayweather, they're the same size, right? Funny how Gems' logic only works one way. Canelo cannot be the same size as Bud Crawford because he cannot come down to fight Bud. Well, but where's the proof that he can't? And the fact that Terence Crawford can make Canelo's weight and he claims he's natural there, that just gets completely thrown out because it doesn't fit the dishonest, idiotic analysis that completely ignores the important nuance, that is the rehydration weights, the scientific data that we have on both of these men. And you got all these clowns on Gems' video telling him how smart he is. Well, smarter than you, idiots. He's playing you and you like it. So now Gems is following my lead and talking about Canelo's footwork problems. Footwork problems that he overlooked because the culture gave the guy a pass. And now that he's threatening another one of their guys, remember what they said when Charlotte was going into that fight? They were dead wrong then and they are likely just as dead wrong right now. But be that as it may, now that Canelo threatens the culture, now they follow my lead and talk about his footwork. So instead of coming over here and asking me to expose Canelo's flaws, something I had been doing for close to 10 years now, why don't you go over to Gems' channel and ask him why he's been hiding Terence Crawford's flaws from everybody? I'll tell you why. Code. Deceit. For a guy who's so obsessed with base and positioning, go ask him how come he's never exposed Terence Crawford's shit base and terrible positioning. Code. Deceit. I mean, come on, people like Gems have been looking at photos such as this one for months now, and they're still pulling the wool over your eyes. You got Terence Crawford wearing slimming black with Canelo in white. In the background stands Terence, and he still looks a good 10 pounds bigger than Canelo. Oh, but look at Canelo's frame, and how much bigger his head is. I mean, come on, man. Why are you still doing this to yourself? But Canelo's got the much bigger frame. Look at his muscle density. We got all these X-Men sprouting up everywhere with X-ray vision. Boxing Gems claims that he can see muscle density. Yeah, and I see dead people. Fucking zombies everywhere. These people are losing their minds, and it's plain to see why. These people had counted their chickens before they hatch, and when I said, not so fast, fellas, they got scared. So now they want me to reassure them, to pat them on their heads and say, it's gonna be okay, baby. Who's your daddy? Boxing Gems, obviously, so go on over there if hopium is what you seek. Over there, over where you tell each other how smart you are by using such mythical concepts as artificial weight with no one having the slightest idea of what that even means. This is what Terence Crawford's face looked like about a week into the Canelo fight camp. This is what it looked like some 24 hours before he weighed in at 154 pounds. And this is what he looked like just the other day, right around 176.4 pounds. Which one looked the most natural to you? Terence Crawford is obviously the naturally bigger man in this fight. Canelo, at least on paper, is just more proven at a higher weight. On paper, he's by far the better pound-for-pound fighter. And if you were to put him on Snack, he'd be knocking out welterweights too. Whoop-de-doo. And because most people are ignorant of the weight dynamic here or are just barely waking up to this fact, I think they're missing a very important factor. You see, the reason why Terence Crawford needed to play the weight game in order to be competitive at the highest level was because he wasn't good enough. So while he was taking all kinds of substances, no doubt, and going through the rigors of making weight while getting hit over and over and over again before he developed some kind of defense, he was also putting heavy mileage on the odometer. So while Canelo has had more fights and more competitive fights because he's fought better opposition, it's not entirely clear that he has more miles on the clock. So while Terence Crawford has been killing himself to make weight all the way up till his last fight, Canelo has more or less been chilling. So while Terence Crawford has been rehydrating anywhere between 10 to 30 pounds in his fights, Canelo never really went much above 10. But if you believe Canelo was such a huge monster at the lower weight classes, how are you giving Floyd any credit for draining the man? And the very important detail that Bud buddies don't seem to know about, probably because they weren't watching boxing back then, and a detail that Boxing Gems conveniently omits in his analysis, is the fact that Canelo invented 6 or 7 different weight classes in order to facilitate him growing while at the same time moving up in weight. So when Canelo first hit 154, he was in that ring on fight night 162, 163, and by the time he was close to 170, he moved up again. While Terence Crawford was hitting those fight night weights at welterweight, a weight class where he was still muscle drained, and this is evident looking at his starved face. Show me one weigh-in photo where Canelo looks this bad on the scale. And you want to know why Terence Crawford looks like a meth head? Because he's probably taking amphetamines to get down to this weight. Or some other similar undetectable substance. Go ask Victor Conte, I'm sure he'll tell you. But look at Terence Crawford's flat muscle bellies, his almost non-existent pec muscles. Yes, he's pulled all the water out of them he can, but he's also burning up muscle just to make weight. Look at his face. Even when fully hydrated at 147, he's still looking gaunt in the face. Both his temple and his cheek looks a little sunken in. And both the jaw and the temple are soft spots in boxing. So if you deplete both of those muscle groups, it's likely that your punch resistance will suffer, which is why it's gotten so much better now that he's fighting closer to his natural weight. Does that mean his chin will hold up to Canelo's punches? I want to say yes, but at the same time, we have to consider all the aforementioned wear and tear. And the fact that there are very good reasons for why Terence Crawford drained himself down to all those weights that he did. Probably because he wasn't all that good at taking punches anyway. And say what you will about Canelo, he was a massive puncher at 154, which is really what this is. These are 254 pounders not draining themselves to make weight. And that's why I call this a 50-50, because even though Terence Crawford is clearly the naturally bigger man, Canelo fights bigger, better. And while I give Terence Crawford a slight edge in technical skill, Canelo hits harder and he takes a better punch. Also because he doesn't drain himself. And I have to assume he probably has less wear and tear. So while weight has been the main focus going into this fight and automatically assumed as an advantage for Canelo, this couldn't be further from the truth. Canelo isn't heavier, he fights heavier. He's more efficient. A pound of Canelo is worth more than a pound of Terence Crawford. He's pound for pound the far better boxer. At least what's on paper. And this is Terence's chance to prove this ain't so. And this is what people talk about, whether they know it or not, when they speak of Canelo's ring presence. Now don't get me wrong, a lot of his fights are definitely fishy. But when he did have to pitch a real one at 160 pounds, when he fought the best guy he could have fought, that presence was still there. And now he's fighting a 154-pounder. So I expect Terence Crawford to feel that presence. You're gonna see a bigger guy fighting like the smaller guy, and you're gonna see the smaller guy fighting like the bigger guy. Ring presence. So while I think Terence Crawford's body is plenty big to compete with Canelo, and he'll be able to take those punches okay in my opinion, I think it'll be his mind that fails him. The mental. I think he's gonna poop the bed. He's not gonna go out on his shield, which will be required to win this fight. I never saw this particularly mean guy when it came to Terence Crawford. He was a crab ass. I've never seen him as some kind of a strong-willed or particularly mentally tough individual, because while he was an absolute diva with privilege after privilege bestowed upon him, he kept complaining as if he were some kind of a victim. This guy keeps moaning on about how he was supposedly an underdog in all these different fights, when in reality this is the very first time in his entire career when the bookies actually favored the other guy. So while he was a media darling, protected by the system with everything handed to him on a silver platter, it wasn't enough. Instead of showing gratitude and exuding confidence, this dude painted himself as a victim. I don't know about you, but victim mentality and utmost confidence seem like a contradiction to me. So now that he really is the underdog, I don't expect him to rise above that. Now that he really is the underdog, I think he's going to fully embrace that. I think Canelo is going to break him. I think the bully is going to get bullied. He'll have a chance to legitimately win the fight, which will most likely mean he gets knocked out, because he can't fight coming forward. So he's gonna run. He's gonna retreat all night and hope that the establishment gives him one last favor. He's not coming to win. He's expecting the establishment will gift him a win. Max Kellerman was right when so many years ago he said Terence Crawford has a chip on his shoulder. He thinks he's special. He thinks he's God's gift to humanity. He thinks he's as good as Floyd Mayweather. He talks about himself in third person. And all that peacocking, all those photo sessions with his shirt off, that's nothing but a lack of confidence. He's trying to fake it until he makes it. He probably thinks he could intimidate Canelo with this nonsense, when in reality all that he's doing is pulling the gays out the closets. I think he's in for a rude awakening, and I hope he proves me wrong and does step up to the plate, but I think he's gonna shit the bed. And I think he will legitimately lose over 12 rounds, but maybe get a gift. But I'm picking Canelo.
You don't think I'm scared, I'm a coward? Well, guess what? I'm a rich scared coward. I'm a rich coward. And you don't think